Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Based EDH, your source for no cringe commander. I am your host, Tyler.
I am your host, Dakota.
And today I am bringing you possibly the sauciest, spiciest deck tech that you've ever seen. Dakota, wipe that damn look off your face. Don't you come into my house and upturn my kitchen tables and laugh at me. When you come to my house, you get my wife's name right.
I am just here to have a good time.
Yeah, well, I can sense your negativity.
Tower, what is this deck?
So glad you asked. This is my hammer deck.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's just hammer?
It's a hammer.
That seems like a great idea.
So I don't know what came over me, but I just kind of realized how much I love Colossus Hammer. And then I realized it's not just Colossus Hammer, man. I kind of love, all the hammers. And so I decided to see how many hammers there were in Magic. Now, if you can look at the section marked hammers on the page.
And I don't see a section marked hammer.
Yeah, it's right here on the left.
Tower, you just pointed on the screen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got to use my mouse. Yeah, there's a bunch of hammers. I know what you're saying. No, that's a pick. No, don't you tell me that's not a hammer. That's a hammer.
That's a pick.
I'm going to pick up your bones off the floor. So, these aren't all the hammers in Magic the Gathering, but I don't know what it was, man, but I just got overwhelmed with the need to build hammers. I've been thinking about it for a week, and I've been building this for a week. My wife is pissed off at me.
Rest in peace, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah's currently, she got too hot when she went to the beach. So
your wife's already pretty hot, and so when she got outside and got even hotter.
Thank you. That's based. So, anyways, this deck is helmed by Bruce Tarl, Boris Herder, primarily, and secondarily by Kamal Heart of Krosa. Now, Kamal's really cool. The real reason he's here is to give us access to the color green. Because the only reason green even needs to be in this deck is because of Nazan, Revered Bladesmith, and Behemoth Sledge. And that's about it.
Plus, they're two bulky white guys. They go to the gym.
Look at how massive they are.
Everything
Tell me that
the left hates.
Bruce Tarl can hold at least 6 hammers by himself.
Bruce Tarl is a white farmer who is in shape.
He's like the 1950s out of shape, in shape man meme. You know what I mean? But he's like, look at that dude. That's actual swole. Furthermore, he only costs 4. When he enters or attacks, target creature you control gets double strike and lifelink, which is not irrelevant, until the end of the turn. He's also a 3/3. So he's going to pump himself or pump up one of your other boys that's already swinging with something.
He's basically a pseudo enchantment that says target creature you control gains lifelink and double strike.
That you can also slap a hammer onto and go for commander damage with. Kamal Heart of Krosa is a big old boy, and I know he's not holding a hammer. He's holding a sword with the Mirari attached to the hilt. But
then why is he in the hammer deck, Tyler?
Because look how freaking look how massive. So my options, if I wanted, and I knew I wanted Bruce Tarl as one of the commanders for sure. If I wanted this deck to be Naya colors, then my options were Tana the Bloodsower, Sidar Kondo, Inara Wolvid Familiar, Kodama of the East Tree, or Glenara, the tree one that taps. It's a mana dork. Its name is Glenara something. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, the elf one.
I think it's a tree
CMC 6 or more.
Yeah, you tap it and cast a CMC 6, you get to draw a card. It's really cool. But I just didn't feel it for this deck.
You could have done 10 might not have been a bad idea because then when you deal damage, you get that many saprolings.
And then you can equip the saprolings with hammers. That'd be pretty awesome. But I just could not help myself but to put 2 massive dudes, 2 brothers in arms that are going to wreck shop. Also, Kamal is a an enchantment overrun.
Yeah.
Where he, at combat on your turn, he's going to +3 and trample.
Trample is significant.
Not irrelevant. And if you desperately need another creature out, you can turn one of your lands into a 1/1 elemental with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. It's still a land.
I like to pretend that they're brothers in Ireland fighting the British Royal Army.
That's pretty cool, but they're on 2 different planes, my guy. Kamal's from Dominaria.
Did I ask?
No, but I'm going to tell you. Kamal's from Dominaria. But I'm going to take you through, over to the left. I want to go through the hammer section. This is the bread and butter.
It's hammer time.
It is indeed hammer time as I go to take my drink of water.
I didn't know you were a black 1990s rapper who immediately found success and then also immediately got turned in for tax fraud.
MC Hammer got turned in for tax fraud?
Oh, yeah, dude. He's broke as hell.
Oh, is he dead?
Don't pay your taxes. Taxes are theft.
What shoes your grandma got? She did as hell. Just like MC Hammer. I don't know if he's dead or not. Anyways, that's
Shout out to MC Hammer. He is our sponsor for this week's
pretty
episode.
Awesome. Anyways, I'm going to take you through the hammer section. First hammer on the list is Torolf's Hammer. You pay 1 in a red. You can equip it for 1 in a red. The equipped creature gets +3/+0 as long as it's legendary, which we have a lot of legendary creatures, so that'll usually work. But
they tend to hold the hammer best.
Yeah, but you can also pay 1 and a red unattached to Ralph's Hammer. It deals 3 damage to any target. So if you want, you can lightning bolt it as a removal.
Somebody has a profit to crew fix, bam, dice to lightning bolt.
Yes. Next one. Sunforger. That's a spicy hammer, my boy.
That is a spicy hammer.
3 to put on the battlefield. 3 to equip. Equipped creature gets +4/+0.
Based.
You know what that means? You put that thing on Bruce Tarl. He's swinging for 7 with double strike. You're 2/3 of the way to commander damage. But more importantly, why Sunforger is in here, you pay red. You pay white. Unattached Sunforger. Search your library for a red or white instant or sorcery. Oh, no, it's just an instant. Which, yeah. Oh, that's totally fine. That doesn't affect us in the slightest. Red or white instant with CMC 4 or less. Cast that card without paying its mana cost, shelf your library. So we go take that Sunforger, and we go and we find our Generous Gift, or our Forsake the Worldly, or our Fall of the Hammer, or whatever, we get into it later.
Lapse of Certainty.
Yeah, Lapse of Certainty.
To counter their spell.
Yeah, so we can counter their spells while we're playing Naya.
Yeah, we're playing white, red, and blue, green, fuck.
Yeah, we
counter
your
spell.
spell. We'll counter your spell. Let's move up the list. Piston Sledge. Dakota, you want to hit some of these, my guy?
Piston Sledge may not say hammer, but it be a hammer.
It's a sledgehammer.
It is 3 mana, equips to sacrifice an artifact. Dude, we have so many hammers.
You can sacrifice an artifact.
Gets +3/+1.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice is when it comes into the battlefield, it just immediately attaches.
Mm-hmm. So you might not even ever have to actually sacrifice another artifact to get it onto a creature or something. Okay, one of my favorite hammers in the deck, Maul of the Skyclaves for 2 and a white.
That's borderline a hammer. I don't know if that's a hammer, my
It's
guy.
a maul. It's a sledgehammer. It's literally a sledgehammer.
I don't know. I feel like
Dude,
if you have it would be called Sledgehammer of the Skyclave.
If you have a problem with that, you're not going to like Mace of the Valiant. When we get up there,
We've already talked about Mace of the Valiant.
I couldn't help myself. I know it's technically not a hammer, but whatever. It's got hammer energy, much like the Capricopian, which we will get into later. Maul of the Skyclaves for 3. Man, we're playing more than one color. I'm actually going to have to say what the colors are. I hate doing that. 2 and a white. You get an equipment when Maul of the Skyclaves enters the battlefield. Attach it to target creature you control. Then equipped creature gets +2/+2 flying and first strike. You can equip it for 2 white.
That's pretty good.
Enters on 3. It enters and equips. That's banging. That's absolutely banging. I love that it gives evasion too.
Yes.
Makes it a very hard problem to deal with. Masterwork of Ingenuity.
Tyler, that is a sword.
But it ain't for long. It ain't for long because for 1, you can have it enter as a copy of any equipment on the battlefield. How about you have it enter as a copy of Maul of the Skyclaves and then auto-equip it?
That's pretty cool.
I like that a lot. Okay, I know this isn't a hammer.
It's not a hammer.
I know it's technically not a hammer. It says
technically
mace.
My balls.
What? Dakota, this is no cringe commander. What are you talking about?
I may have smoked a little bit of crack over 30 to 45 minutes ago.
And I snorted the rest of it. So, but for 2 and a white, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace of the Valiant, and it has Vigilance. Also, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, not irrelevant, put a charge counter on Mace of the Valiant.
Equips for what, 3?
Yep.
That's not bad.
So the longer the game goes, the bigger the Mace of the Valiant gets. By the end of the game, you might have a +7/+7 Vigilance Mace. Which, now I know it's a mace, but look at that. That looks like a hammer to me because that's flat.
That looks like a mace to me.
I tell you, because maces are are rounded on all sides. That's flat. That's just a hammer.
Then why did they not call it Hammer of the Valiant?
I think the artist messed up.
They just had extra art. Mace.
I'm gonna do like I usually do and blame the artist. So, all right, one of the best cards in the deck. Hit it, my man.
This is in fact a hammer, and it's in the name. It's the Hammer of Elephants, the Loxodon Warhammer. 3 mana, equips for 3, gets +3/+0, trample, and lifelink. It is a great card. Normally, the lifelink really isn't that big of a deal with this, especially with your commander. But it doesn't matter how big your creature is. If it doesn't have trample, what are you doing with it?
Probably not going to get through, and we don't have a lot of other ways to give evasion besides some of the hammers happen to give evasion, like the Maul of the Skyclaves. But yeah. Hammer of Ruin. This is kind of a funny one. Pay 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may destroy target equipment that player controls.
Dude, that's kind of cool.
Blow up their Feast and Famine?
It's like, oh, I have hammer. Your sword just got hammered.
You can literally use your hammer to break their Sword of Fire and Ice.
That's cool.
Or their Swiftfoot boots.
Or as we discovered earlier, the Sword of Fire and Wet.
Yeah. We decided that the Sword of Fire and Ice would just melt the ice, and it would just be like the sword of like lukewarm metal.
Lukewarm metal.
It still hits hard. Hammer of Perforos. Now, this isn't an equipment, but I'll be damned if it ain't a hammer that we can use. Pay 1 red. Creatures you control have haste. That's important because we don't have a lot of haste enablers in this deck. Pay 3, tap it, sack a land, you get a 3/3 colorless golem. We don't care, we're here for the haste, and we're here because it's a hammer.
I'll tell you what, though, that is actually valuable, because what can tend to happen with equipment decks is either you have all your creatures and none of your equipment, or all your equipment and none of your creatures. This makes sure that you, no matter what, you will have a creature to do stuff.
Sometimes you can get lost in the sauce, and there have been times where I get late game where things have gotten burnt out or you run out of cards. And, we're working to not have that be a problem, but it just happens sometimes. Sometimes it's not bad to blow up your mountain and get a golem.
Yep.
Hammer of Nazan, baby. One of my favorites.
And it's gone down in price. I remember this card was like $20.
Yep.
This card itself made picking up the Arabo deck worth it. For 4 mana, it's a legendary artifact equipment, obviously. It equips for 4. When a Hammer of Nazan or another equipment ETBs, you can attach that equipment to a target creature you control. Then, a Hammer of Nazan gives your creatures +2/+0 and indestructible. So this hits like 4 nails at once.
Yep. Nice comparison.
Pumps up power, gives things indestructible.
Boom.
And says, oh, all your equip costs, ignore them. They are nothing.
Well, when they enter, they do. It also equips for 4. Cool piece of tech. Nazan is going to refer to this later.
Yo, is that his hammer?
Yes.
Hammer of Nazan is Nazan's hammer?
And it is, the hammer is actually a lot smaller than it looks like.
Really?
Yeah, because that whole thing is not the hammer. That top part is the hammer. Because this is an anvil because he's a blacksmith.
Dude, I'll be honest, that's the first time I ever knew that.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's actually a really small hammer.
That hammer makes it, like, that's just a little tiny sledge.
Yep.
That is not special.
Speaking of a little tiny sledge, gold vein pick for 2.
I like your little twist there, but it's still not a hammer.
You look at that thing and you tell me that's... Ignore the name. You look at that thing, you tell me that's not a hammer.
Do you see that little dildo-looking thing at the end? That's not a hammer.
Depends. Depends.
I'd be hammering something.
They might be calling it the hammer. You know what I'm saying? Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. And it equips for 1. One of the smaller equipments, but you know what? Sometimes it's going to make you a treasure, and that's based.
If you can get that out and able to swing with it on like turn 3, turn 4, you have access to 5 mana.
Out of your 3 opponents,
treasure should give you extra value.
Yep. Out of your 3 opponents, you're going to find somebody to hit. Dwarven Hammer for 2 and a red.
It is an artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 2/1 red dwarf berserker creature token, then attach Dwarven Hammer to it. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has trample. They kind of repeated this cycle in Adventures in Forgotten Realms, with like the
Goblin Morningstar.
Yeah.
That was cool. I kind of wanted to put that in this deck, but I just couldn't swing it as enough of a hammer.
And then it also pays 3 to equip. Equip creature gets +3/+0 on trample. I already read that. The nice thing about this one as well is kind of the same thing with Hammer of Perforos. Sometimes you don't have the creatures to equip your hammers to. This lets you make that creature.
Yep, it just gives you options, and that's always nice. Speaking of some kind of weird options, I could have put this in the removal section. This is kind of a weird hammer. For 1, you get the Dead Iron Sledge.
Based.
You equip it for 2. Whenever equipped creature blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, destroy that creature and the equipped creature.
Ooh, that's cool.
So, now there are ways where we could get like our Hammer of Nazan or some other way to get this guy indestructible. But, for the most part, this says trade something.
Yep.
And your opponents know that. Basically, both creatures that meet in combat are getting Death Touch. All right.
That's a cool little tech. It's a unique card. Is it that powerful? No. But a lot of times it's more fun to play with cards that you don't see in a lot of decks that are unique that nobody else is going to see.
Yep. All right. You know what it is.
It's the reason this deck got built.
The reason the deck got built is because I cannot stop playing with Colossus Hammer. That sounded a little kinky. You pay 1.
My Colossus Hammer.
Bro, you know what I'm saying. You pay 1. Equip creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. Equip for 8.
Man, I'll tell you what, you get that on a Bruce Taro, you got yourself a 20 or a 13/13 double strike lifelink.
That's 26 damage.
That's 26 damage.
You're gonna get 26 life. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. That in
Ooh,
combination.
Colossus Hammer went up in price.
Yeah, it's like 99 cents. It's because I've been.
That was 99 cents.
I've been telling everybody about it. But yeah, one of my favorite cards. You can cheap the equip cost with a couple other cards we're going to talk about. So if you're lucky, you're going to give your creature +10/+10 for the low price of putting it on the battlefield for 1 colorless.
And we have ways to cheat that mana cost.
Absolutely.
Or that equip cost.
And we can ramp. That's exactly what I said. We can ramp too. We can ramp hard. Behemoth Sledge. 1 green, white. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has lifelink and trample. Equip 3.
It is basically a little mini Bruce Taro on an equipment. I feel like trample's better than double strike, but both have validity.
Yeah, I don't know if you could even. I don't know if I could call one better than the other, but just being able to get the damage through is awesome. Also, it's a great hammer.
And an important part about lifelink with a Boros with an equipment deck is normally you don't have a lot of blockers. So you're gonna swing at somebody, they're gonna say, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna swing at you back."
Yep.
So this lets you outpace that life loss of people just naturally swinging at you because you attacked them.
Yep. Long as it ain't their commander, you can usually outrace them. All right, last hammer, Angelic Armaments.
I was about to say there better be a hammer in that art.
There is a hammer.
And there is a hammer in that art.
Yeah,
I just saw the name and I was like, well, wait a minute, Tyler.
That's a big old hammer too. Yeah, you pay 3, you get a +2/+2 equipment that also gives flying and makes the creature become a white angel in addition to its other colors and types.
This is kind of the reverse of Colossus Hammer. This gives your creature flying.
Yeah, but if you equip both of them, you're still going to lose flying, so be careful. It also equips for 4, so it's a bit expensive, but it grants evasion.
And that's important.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool. So anyways, I just love hammers, man. So I wanted to dump as many as I could into this deck and start swinging. Also, I mean, this gave me a good excuse to build a Naya deck. I don't build Naya. Like, I haven't built Naya since Zakama. Well, yeah, I know you love Naya because you got Gashath.
Yeah.
Gashath is an amazing commander. All right, now we've got all these hammers.
Not the way I build them. Yes, what do we equip them to?
Please put lands in your Gashath deck.
You don't need more than 32 lands if your commander costs over 6.
32 lands is high for Dakota. He's running like 15.
I got ramp. It's fine. I got the cultivate, the Kadama's reach. What else do you need? What are we equipping these hammers to? I got to know. What are we equipping these?
No,
hammers
you just want
to
to change the subject. All right.
2 things can be true.
Do you want to hit the name and then I'll read off what it does real fast, and we'll just get through them.
Zolto, Fire Giant Duke.
Pay 3 red. You get a 7/3 trample with whenever Zolto, Fire Giant Duke is dealt damage, venture into the dungeon. That's cool and all. We're here because he's a big boy with big power and he's holding a hammer. Also, his hammer is a prison.
That's cool.
He keeps prisoners in his hammer. He's
Lock me up, daddy.
kind of kinky. Dakota doesn't like this one.
Wolfgard of Icewind Dale.
For 3, red, green, you get a big old dude holding a hammer who has melee, and if a creature you control attacking would cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time.
We're really only here because he has a hammer in his artwork.
There are a couple of other things around here that can trigger off of the attack. Unfortunately, Bruce Tarl will... Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, that doubles up Bruce Tarl. Boom, got there. We got there. That doubles up Bruce Tarl's double strike thing. Also,
we sat here arguing about this for like 5 minutes before the show started.
It wasn't arguing. It was more like Dakota complaining because he hates everything that I do.
Yes, I do. It's amazing that we've made it this far into the podcast together.
Yeah, this far, we're like 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, but Wolfgard has melee, which means whenever he attacks, it gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn for each opponent you attacked this combat. So if you send Wolfgard, let's say minimum you've got Wolfgard by himself. You've got 3 opponents because you're in a 4-player game. You send Wolfgard at one of your opponents. At the minimum, he's going to get melee, which would turn him into a 5/5, but since he doubles that attack trigger, he's going to turn into a 6/6 by himself. Minimum, he's becoming a 6/6 when he attacks. And let's say you have 2 goblins. You send 1 more goblin to each opponent. That's +2/+2 again. That turns them into 8. That's +2/+2 again. He becomes a 10/10. That's crazy. He becomes so big, and he's going to be even bigger when we put hammers on him.
Based. This card is a card that I loved ever since it came out. I was going to build a deck around him, but I just kind of never got around to it.
We build too many mono red decks.
Valduk, Keeper of the Flame.
So... I'm sorry, I saw this hair sitting on your head. I was going to pull it, and I realized it's one of your hairs.
Yeah, it's one
How
of my
long
hairs.
are your hairs, man?
Dude, my hair is so long.
You need to go see Beck. Oh, Beck moved.
Oh, shout out to Beck.
Yeah, she's our barber. She's great. So, for 2 and a red, you get a dude holding a really cool hammer. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, for each aura and equipment attached to Valduk, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Just adds more damage onto the battlefield. Helps you get those Wolfgard melee triggers for each equipment you have on him. Also, he's a flavor one
trying to make Wolfgard work.
Dude, Wolfgard doesn't need to try to work. He's awesome. If you actually build the Wolfgard deck, he goes off.
Yeah, you're right. If you build a Wolfgard deck.
Yeah, he's also good in Bruce Tarl because he's going to give himself double strike and Bruce Tarl double strike. Can't come out here and tell me like I don't know what Wolfgard
Plus,
does.
Valduk is holding a hammer.
Unfortunately, Swiftblade Vindicator is not holding it.
I have a pre-release promo of one of these, if you'd like it.
I will take you up on that.
For Boros, gross, double strike, vigilance, trample, 1/1. You put a hammer on that, you got yourself a fucking thing.
Isn't that an actual deck in Modern?
It was. I don't know about
What's the hammer?
Modern.
There's a deck called Hammer Time.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it has Swiftblade Vindicator in it, though. Maybe it does.
What are they doing it with? I know that, like...
I guess that's the only thing that would make sense because it's a one-hit kill with Colossus Hammer.
Yeah, there are, like, saucy ways to, like, get your Colossus Hammer onto that thing.
Well, I'll tell you what. The price tag sure don't look like it's played in Modern.
Yeah, you got a good point there. It's 39 cents. Rogak, son of Roga.
I mean, this card goes in every deck.
Every deck that runs red.
As 0 mana, first strike, vigilance, trample, and
no, menace, trample, not vigilance.
Oh, sorry. My left eye is currently like not working right now, so I'm reading with one eye.
He's also far away again.
0/1 with first strike, menace, and trample, not vigilance. It is cool.
Yeah,
that is all.
He's awesome. Just slap whatever you want onto him and just watch him go.
He is the best turn 0 play.
This card is not good, but it's in the deck because fuck you. 2 red, white. You get Hammer Dropper, which is a 5/2 giant with Mentor, which, if you don't know what Mentor means, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1 counter on target attacking creature with less power, which is going to be relevant.
That synergizes with Wolfgard. I see why you put him in the deck.
It synergizes. Yeah, we get that double Mentor trigger. Let's go. He also puts a counter on Bruce Tarl, but more importantly, he's big man holding hammer.
Yep.
And that's what we're here for.
And hammer's in the name.
And now, big man holding hammer, small man holding hammer. This is the last card I put in the deck.
And boy, does it go in here.
Goblin Gavalier for 1 red.
It is a 1/1 with trample and gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. Hit us with that flavor text.
I'm going to hit you with the flavor text. So, you've always heard people say, whenever you've got a hammer in your hand, everything starts looking like a nail. Well, this flavor text says, when everything looks like a nail, you really need to get yourself a hammer. He's also just a little angry goblin with trample, holding a hammer in his artwork.
He's an early drop, which is good because that means it's pseudo haste essentially. He's out there before blockers are.
Yep. He is everything this deck is like inspired around.
Yep.
Little man, big hammer.
Except both our commanders are big guys.
Yeah, except for the big boys. Champion of Flame for 1 and a red.
This was a standard deck for a while.
Really?
Yep. He is a 1 red, 1 and a 1 red for a 1/1 with trample. He gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. We don't run auras. We're all about them hammers. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have hammers in his artwork. It'd be a lot cooler if he did.
Yeah, it would be a lot cooler. Get those altars done. Capricopian for X and a green.
Tower was excited about this card. I don't think I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, it came in like I can't remember which Ikoria precon it came in. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a goat hydra. This thing can't swing a hammer. Now, while you can equip the hammers, I believe that the Capricopian has hammer energy. Much like the Mace of the Valiant that we talked about earlier. I know that it doesn't quite make sense, but it has hammer energy, and I've also just been wanting to run Capricopian for the longest time. So I'll hit it with what it does. So it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, so relevant at any point during the game. You pay 2 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on Capricopian. Then you may reselect which player Capricopian is attacking. Only the player Capricopian is attacking may activate this spell, or this ability, excuse me, and only during the declare attacker step. So how this works, Dakota, is you send your let's say you're in a 4-player game, and you're player A, and you send Capricopian at player B. Player B may pay 2 and say, no, it's going to attack player C. Player C may say, oh, actually, it's going to go back at player B, because it can't go back at player A, you are player A. Player B says, I'm going to pay 2 and send it at player C. And this can go on, adding counters the whole way until somebody doesn't pay or can't pay for it. And then who knows how big this thing is. Furthermore, when you slap a behemoth sledge on this bitch, it gets out of hand. And that's what we're here for. Really cool, kind of fun commander card. And it just keeps getting bigger. He doesn't have one in his artwork, but tell me about this guy.
Brunor Battle Hammer is 2 and Boros. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it.
That's awesome.
You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate this turn. And he's a 5/3. He big.
Now, I know that it's become just a cliche.
It's Boros equipment.
Boros equipment. I mean, you might as well just take every Boros equipment commander, shuffle them, and pick which one you're playing with at the beginning of the game.
Trust me, we're going to talk about more of them.
We're going to talk about more. But actually, here's a great mono white Voltron. Belon Wandering Knight for 2 white.
It is a first strike, 3/3. And he has double strike for as long as 2 or more equipments are attached to it.
Yep.
And you can pay, is that what? One and a white. Attach all equipment you control to Ballin.
Ballin. Stupid dog, I'm ballin'. Have you ever seen that meme from Resident Evil?
From here.
Stupid man thing. I'm fucking ballin'. With Lady Dimitrescu. Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Horny is back.
Horny is back, indeed. They knew exactly what they were doing. Anyways, pay 2 to put all of your equipments on. Let's say you get board wiped. Cool. Drop Balon next turn. Equip everything to him.
Our equipment costs are kind of high. Plus, there's some very not good ones like Piston Sledge.
Yeah, the hammers
does not give a shit.
He does not care about that.
Actually, I think Brunor Battlehammer gets around that too.
Brunor Battlehammer? What?
Like the Piston Sledge ability?
Because the first one has equip... Ooh, if I can get to him. The first one has 0 rather than pay. Yeah, that's great with the Colossus Hammer too.
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay, this one was kind of a weird one, but I've been wanting a spot to put this card. Adriana, Captain of the Guard for 3 red-white. You get a human knight with melee. We already saw that once on Wolfgard. Other creatures you control have melee. If you can get both her and Wolfgard out,
it gets out of control.
That's a pretty big anthem because it's just going to stack on top of each other. Oh my gosh, that's going to be a lot of power.
Theoretically, that means you could get your stuff, +8/+8?
Yeah, something like that.
No,
it depends on how many...
Be +12,
if you're playing a 4-player game...
Be +12. plus 12 plus 12.
I'm going to trust your math because you're the accounting major and I'm too tired to argue with you. But, all right. I'm going to run you through the removal section real fast. This time, I'm actually going to have Dakota say the name and then I'll read it through. Because we kind of got mixed up in the middle there. But that's okay. We don't get paid to do this. We're just showing up. So
we're just here.
We can make mistakes.
We are a dumb hoe because we don't get paid for this. We are just here for your amusement.
Yeah.
And we're not getting paid.
Monkeys with symbols.
Yes.
All right. Hit me, Dakota.
Wear and Tear.
So it's actually 2 cards, but you can fuse it together by paying both of their costs. Wear says destroy target artifact. Tear says destroy target enchantment.
Base. Single combat.
3, white. It's a board wipe. Each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifice the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. So, what this means is you get some big creature out that you like. Cool. Wipe everybody else's. Odds are your big creature is going to be able to take on their big creature. And they're not bringing out anything else. But you're bringing out more equipment.
Yep. Shatter Skull Smashing.
This is a flavor win because if you flip it over, you'll see that it is... We do actually, in fact, have more than 32 lands in this deck. It turns into Shatter Skull the Hammer Pass, which is just a tapped land. But Shatter Skull Smashing deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures or walkers. If X is 6 or more, then it deals double that damage divided instead. So if you pay 6 into it, you have 12 damage to spread amongst creatures and walkers. Really
among
cool
2
removal.
Creatures or walkers.
Oh, yeah, amongst 2 creatures or walkers.
Realistically, you should be able to kill them.
Indeed. Which, I mean, that's really cool.
Martial Coup.
Pay white, and X. Create X white soldier creature tokens. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. We like to board wipe in our meta.
Yes.
But here's the thing. If I board wipe willy-nilly with a Wrath of God, then who is going to be left to swing the hammer? You know? I mean, I got to have somebody out there to go swinging with. And this means that I can immediately, next turn, at least know that I've got some soldiers to slap hammers onto.
Yep. Lapse of Certainty. We talked about this a little bit with the Sunforger.
Yep, this is part of the Sunforger package. You pay 2 and a white. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of the owner's library instead of in their graveyard. I know what you're thinking. That's not as good as the blue counter spells because it doesn't put it in the graveyard. It's not actually taken care of. Yes, but now when I Lapse of Certainty somebody's Craterhoof or their Lab Maniac or their Blue Sun Zenith for 20, it's going back on top and every other player at the table saw what was happening. And now they can react to it. And they know what's coming next.
And that person's probably going to get bonked with a hammer.
They're most definitely getting bonked. Generous gift for 2.
It?
Oh, no.
We did it again.
No. Do it. Say it.
Forsake the Worldly.
Dakota.
Generous gift.
For 2 and a white, destroy target permanent. Not even non-land. I always mix that up. Its controller gets a 3/3 elephant. Cool.
It's based.
It is. No, you're going to like this one.
Generous gift. Forsake the Worldly.
2 and a white, exile target artifact or enchantment. It also has cycling too. I have for a long time said that this is an underrated removal spell.
It is.
Because you can always just throw it away. But furthermore, I know it kind of is sad because it's implying this hammer is getting destroyed, but I like to think of it more as the priestess of the hammer rejoicing in the return of their king.
Hammer!
He's here.
He has returned.
He has blessed us. Really cool, flavorful removal spell.
Fall of the Hammer.
I sounded like the Capricorpian. Pay 1 and a red. Target creature deals damage equal to its power to another target creature.
Based.
Incredibly.
It's a better fight spell in red for some reason. Cataclysmic Gearhulk.
3 white vigilance. When Cataclysmic Gearhulk enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, and walker from among non-land permanents they control. Sack the rest. It's a tragic arrogance on a big dude that has a hammer, and that's all we care about.
Beast Within.
2 and a green. Destroy target permanent. Its controller makes a 3/3 beast. It's a color. It's the original generous gift.
It's generous gift, but green.
And it's also just arguably. It's not arguably. It is my favorite removal spell because it's so universal. But yeah, I kind of. If you think you can find something more flavorful to put in pull them out, put in more hammer-related removal. Put it in the comments. I want to hear about it. Trust me. I'm not saying that because we're going to get monetized. And, you can let us know in the comment section where we got wrong so that the algorithm can see, that we have interaction.
Listen, none of our decks have anything wrong with it, so we don't want to hear your shitty opinions about what we need to do better for our decks.
Like, listen, I'm building a hammer deck. I can only go down from here. I've already built the pinnacle of commander decks with the hammer deck. Yeah. All right, card draw section. I'll switch you spots. SRAM, Senior Edificer.
Anytime you play an equipment deck or a deck, put this guy in. Even mono white decks probably do it because you're getting value through
great commander
equipments. 1 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle, draw a card.
Really cool. Souls. Yeah, that's it. That is my job. Souls Majesty.
4 and a green. Sorcery. Draw cards equal to the power of target creature you control.
It is a strictly worse version of this card, Return of the Wild Speaker.
For 4 and a green again. This time you get to choose one. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. The first thing does matter a little bit because we do have actually kind of a lot of humans in this deck.
Both of your commanders are humans.
Wolfgar's a human. Valduk's a human.
Vindicator. Is that it?
No, Champion of the Flame is, and I think Bruno is a dwarf.
Adriana.
So that does matter a little bit, but you should be
find
able
it. And worst case scenario, it is that anthem.
It gives your creatures trample. I guess
or non-humans. I don't know. Whatever. Cut it. Momentous Fall.
Outpost Siege, underrated card, very good. 3 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, choose cons or dragons. Cons, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile top card. You can play it this turn. Dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any target.
Which is really cool. Hunter's Insight for 2 and a green.
Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage this turn to a planeswalker or player, which is important, draw that many cards.
That's a really cool trick to hold up if you have, I don't know, a Colossus Hammer on a Swiftblade Vindicator.
Yes, that's drawing like 18, 20 cards.
That's the dream. Garruk's Uprising for 2 and a green.
Great card. 2 and a green.
Whoa.
When it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. Important. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. If you're playing against this deck in your meta, destroy Garruk's Uprising on sight.
Yeah, this is
card draw and trample.
This is what you use the Beast Within on.
Yep.
Colossal Majesty. 2 and a green.
We're getting this all sorts of messed up.
Dude, we're just descending into madness.
It's Garruk's Uprising, kind of. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. That you should always draw a card with this.
At the minimum, you should have Bruce Tarl equipped with something. You're going to draw a card. Akiri, Fearless Voyager.
She is a lot of stuff on one card. She is a 1 and Boros. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. So at most, you can draw 3 cards out of this if you're playing against the 3-player pod.
Yep.
If you attack 3 different people, you get a draw card. But she also has 1 white. You may unattach an equipment you control from a creature. If you do, tap that creature and it gains indestructible until end of turn. Odds are we're going to be attacking, so the tapping doesn't really matter anyways. It's probably already going to be tapped. Oh, somebody tries to destroy board wipe you. Psych. Somebody tries to single target removal you. Psych.
Also, if you have Wolfgart out, you get to draw double those cards.
True.
All right. So we've got all these hammers. We've got people to swing the hammers. We've got ways to find hammers. How about more ways to find the hammers? Let's switch again.
And this is also basically pseudo card draw. It's just a very specific.
Yes.
Open the armory.
Pay 1 and a white. Search your library for an aura or equipment. Reveal it. Put it in your hand.
Then shuffle.
Yep.
Nazan, revered blacksmith.
So you pay 4 green, white. When Nazan, revered bladesmith, enters the battlefield, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and if you revealed a card named Hammer of Nazan this way, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you may tap target creature defending player controls. So
he's a lot of things on one. He's good.
At the bare minimum, you're paying 6 to get a 5/4 that enters with the Hammer of Nazan, which turns him into a 7/4 with indestructible, meaning 3-hit commander damage if he's your commander. Which obviously he's not here.
He's holding his hammer.
But a great commander. Underrated.
I don't know why he's called a bladesmith when he's holding a hammer.
Because he's making a blade.
Yeah, but that's gay.
He's literally. What are you talking about? He's literally making a sword.
Do you want this flimsy little sword, or do you want a hammer? That's what this whole deck's about.
I get it, but like you got to be able to make more than one thing as a blacksmith.
Nah, man, you got to learn how to make one thing really well.
Hammer Gang, rise up.
Inventor's Fair.
It's a legendary land. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain a life. You can tap it, get a colorless. You can pay 4, tap it, sacrifice it, search your library for an artifact, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. You can only do that if you control 3 or more artifacts.
We're going to have 3 or more artifacts. This also counts as a land. We don't run 32. We're good.
Yep. A worst case scenario, like you could go find a mana rock with it. But you're going to want to go find one of your hammers, I'm pretty sure. It's a great way to go get Hammer of Perforos if you need haste.
Forging the Tyrite Sword.
Yeah, for 1, red, white, it's a Saga. The first trigger says, create a treasure token. The second trigger says, create a treasure token. The third trigger says, search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card. We're not running Halvar, God of Battle, because I didn't find him that relevant. Also, his flip side is a sword and not a hammer. So, I don't
cringe.
know. Yeah, cringe. Yeah, put that equipment in your hand, shuffle. So, really cool, kind of a delayed way to go find a hammer that you need.
It's a ramp tutor. Fighter class.
Now, this I love. I absolutely love. Pay Boros. When fighter class enters the battlefield, search your library for an equipment, reveal it, put it in your hand. For 2, it's another way to just get an equipment in your hand. When you make it level 2 by paying 1 red, white, equip abilities you control cost 2 less to activate. Level 3, you pay 5 total, which is 3 red, white, and whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks it this combat if able.
It's not as good, but really, you really care about the first 2.
Yep. I mean, what we're here for is to pay for fighter class and go find your Colossus Hammer, or whatever it is you're after.
Axguard Armory.
Axguard Armory, regular land. Tap it for a colorless, tap it for a white. Unfortunately, it enters tapped. If you pay 1 red, red, white, and tap it, sack it. Search your library for an aura or equipment. Reveal it. Put it in your hand.
And or. So if you happen to have an aura too, find
really?
It. But we don't run any auras. So.
Yeah. Run a. Isn't a wild growth an aura?
Yes.
Yeah. Run a wild growth and then go replace your mana that you're losing. That's the way to do it. All right, let's do the same thing right here. That was the Find Hammer section. What can we do to make sure we actually get them on people without paying for them?
Cigar does aid.
Pay a white. You can cast aura and equipments like they have flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you can attach it to target creature you control.
This card got a reprint in the Commander Legends Commander decks.
Yes.
That is why it's $6.
Yep.
Before that reprint, it was sitting at like 20.
Yes.
It's Jumbo Commander just talked about this card too, I think. May not be a bad card to invest in. It's at minimum going to at least hold its value because it's a unique effect.
Yes. It's also worth running Idyllic Tutor in this deck just to go find your Cigar Aid.
Yep.
Because that's a great effect that we'd love to have on turn 1.
Leonin Shakiri.
Shakira. Ooh, baby, when you talk like that, you
Dude,
made the hammers go mad. What?
Her hips don't lie.
It's based. Pay 1 and a white. You can activate equip abilities like you could... anytime you could cast an instant. So, you don't like how something's blocking? Cool. Pull your Hammer of Nazan over, and now this creature's indestructible.
Yep. You just have to pay the equip costs, but it's what it is.
Yeah. The dream is to, like, sit back with 8 mana open, and you're leaning Shikari. Attack with 3/1/1s. They can only block 2. They choose their blockers. The third one you send through with the Colossus Hammer. Boom, baby.
The fun thing you can do is, let's say you have Leon and Shakiri out and
Yes.
Bruno or Battle Hammer.
Yes.
He says at each turn, you have first equip ability cost 0. Mm-hmm. So you can just keep moving them equipment around on each person's turn.
It's the... Oh, yeah. You can switch them around once each turn.
Yep.
Yeah, because it only triggers once the first time each turn, though.
So,
Gotcha.
You attack with something that doesn't have vigilance. Okay, you have your Leon and Shakiri out. Oh, just move your Colossus Hammer to her and block with her.
Yep.
Brasssquire.
For 3, you get a Mir or a Mir, whatever you want to call it. Tap it. Attach an equipment you control to a creature you control.
Based. Arden Intrepid Archaeologist.
Now, this guy I love. If I was just running Boros, I would have ran Arden and Bruce Tarl, and that would have been the deck. But there were too many green things, and by too many, I mean 2 green things that I had to run in the deck, being Behemoth, Sledge, and Nazan. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can attach any number of auras and equipments you control to target permanent or player. Ooh, or player. Ooh, you can move curses around. That'd be fun.
This card gets out of control fast.
Yeah, we're not running any curses, but yeah, you can absolutely just pull all of your artifacts that were lying on the ground onto a new creature that entered. Equip him up. He doesn't care. All right. We've talked about our hammers, things that we're doing to get things out of the way of our hammers. Finding hammers, finding more hammers, equipping them. We got to talk about the ramp and the land package. And I'm gonna blaze through the lands because you don't care. I'm gonna talk about the ones that are relevant. You should definitely run Sunhome Fortress of the Legion because pay 4 target creature gets double strike. That's great late game.
Slayer Stronghold too.
Yeah, Slayer Stronghold says tap, pay 2 tap it. Target creature gets +2 in vigilance and haste. So another cool haste enabler. Scarg, pay 2 tap. Target creature gets +1 in trample. That is perfectly relevant. Kessig Wolf Run, another great way to give trample. X, green, red, tap it. Target creature gets +X+O in trample until the end of the turn.
At the worst case, you just tap the gruel and tap it to give it trample.
Yep. Rant Package. I'll blaze through this one too because nobody cares about the Rant Package. Obviously, tailor this to your budget. I picked a pretty aggressive Rant Package. 3 visits, pay 2, go find a forest, put it on the battlefield. Talisman of Unity, pay 2, it taps for a white or a green and pings you for 1. Talisman of Conviction, the exact same thing, but Boros colors. Soul Ring, you know what it does. I'm not even going to look at it. Selesnya Signet, pay 2, you can tap it and get... you pay 1 and tap it, get green and a white. So it nets you 1 mana. Ornithopter of Paradise, it's a mana dork for 2 that flies. Gets you 1 mana of any color, which is really cool. And you can also just slap a hammer onto it late game. I mean, it's not the worst idea to have a flyer with a hammer. Mana Geysa, pay 3 and red. Add a red for each tapped land your opponents control.
You're going to get like 20.
I promise you're going to get... People need to run Mana Geyser. I'm playing a green deck and I'm still running Mana Geyser. It's so good. Inspiring Statuary. This is some saucy tech, Dakota.
It is very cool.
Because do you know why this is in here?
Yeah, because it makes your hammers ramp.
That's exactly right. You can now tap your hammers to get like bigger creatures, or you open the armories out, or a removal spell. Who cares? But the thing is, your hammers don't care if they're tapped.
Nope. They stay equipped. They stay everything stays the same.
Yep. So it gives you... Inspiring Statuary is a great ramp spell, especially in a deck like this. Farseek. This deck, it says go find a plains or go find a mountain. Boros Signet, the same thing as the other signets, except for it makes a red and a white.
I would say probably, if it was me building the deck, I'd cut some of the artifact ramp and add creatures, Land of War Elves, things like that. Gilded Goose is good because it has flying. Things that can give you stuff to equip.
Yeah.
And Gilded Goose isn't as efficient.
The reason I'm not running a lot of those small mana dorks is because if we take a look in the stats section right over here, you'll notice that this is the cost of my green spells compared to the cost of my red and my white. So my red and my white are pretty similar, but the green is actually really suffering. So I didn't want to put a ton of forests in because I didn't want to have to get flooded by them when I actually needed different colors. So I was worried about not having a forest early game to get that mana dork out, which, I mean, if I'm going to play a mana dork in my deck, I want to play it turn 1 or it's not even worth it to me. So that's why there's not a lot of mana dorks, but I'm not saying you can't run it that way. You could absolutely run it with green as the most abundant color. But that's the deck. That's the Bonkin time deck, as I'm going to call it. I think that's what I named it. Yep, Bonkin time, baby.
If there was one card I would add in here, it would probably be Boros Charm. One Vandal Blast, you're going to get blown out.
Yeah, that's going to suck to lose your hammers.
Saying all your permanents get indestructible. Darksteel Forge, if you have it, wouldn't be bad, but that's like a $40 card, I think.
Absolutely.
But Boros Strum, I think, would be a great addition.
Mm-hmm. And I want to take just a quick moment to go over the maybe board, because I did a lot of work trying to find artwork with hammers and finding hammers to use. So I'll just run you through a couple of these things that just weren't quite good enough to put in the deck. There's Yorvo, who's holding the big boy.
We don't run enough green creatures to make that work.
Yeah, I wanted to really bad, but I couldn't. This is a worse lightning strike, but it has a hammer in the artwork. This dude has flavor text about hammer, and he's riding a bear, so that's based. Rhythm of the Wild probably needs to go in. Because we only have 2 ways to give haste.
Yep.
So it probably needs to go in.
Cut a land, add Rhythm of the Wild.
That's terrible advice. This is another dude you don't care about. Perforos is a big boy holding a hammer. that pings opponents when creatures enter. This other Perforos gives things haste and sneak attacks. Palladium Morris can be your commander. In fact, it might not be a bad idea, but you might get blown the heck out because you're going to sit there with Palladia, putting hammers on, and then attack. And then as soon as she hits somebody, she loses her hexproof. So be aware of that. I thought Paladin class was cool just because
Paladin class I think is a little underrated.
I mean, you only pay a white to get it on the battlefield.
Yeah. Well, and a white gives your spell, taxes your opponents a little bit. For 3 more, your creatures get +1/+1.
Yep.
And then for 5 more after that, whenever you attack, target creature gets +1/+1 and double strike.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good.
It's a really cool anthem. Marisi was the original commander of this deck because I figured I wanted to play Naya. He's really cool if you want to have like a little goad sub-theme in your command zone because, I mean, it's cool to have your hammers up and then run through somebody and then send their creatures at somebody else. This is an elephant with a hammer, and that's about it. Another elephant with a hammer. Koth of the hammer.
Dude, he's been packing that hammer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he's actually pseudo-ramp in red. He's not that bad.
Yeah, if you're playing mono red, I would definitely consider him a ramp spell. Cole the Forge Master, another Boros equipment commander. Kedis makes your commanders deal more damage to other players. Really, really cool. Goblin Sharpshooter.
That's a hammer.
That's a great hammer.
My favorite part about this is that he has a sight on it.
Yeah, he has a sight and he's looking down the sight.
He's ready to bonk.
That is a great artwork. And it's a great removal spell if you run up against a lot of token decks, but it's also $13, so I cut it. And then, you know me, I'm running red. I gotta at least consider Brash Taunter.
And, Brash Taunter is really not that bad. In this deck, it's 3 mana to nuke somebody for a bunch.
Yep.
You equip your Zolto with a 1 hammer. It's at 11 now. You pay 3 and deal 11 damage to target opponent. So
now he's a removal spell and he does burn damage effectively.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the hammer deck. That's the Bonkin time, baby. And I know it's not perfect. I know it's not the most powerful deck, but it really scratched an itch I had to just put some hammers together and swing.
If you're trying to build a perfect commander deck, play CEDH.
Yeah. Yeah, play Magda, because apparently Magda's CEDH.
Jesus.
And our friend Kodiak, who's like only ever built like 2 decks, just decided, yeah, I'm going to build Magda for $25 and just starts wrecking us.
Yes.
So, anyways, yeah. But you know what? Tune it to your budget. This is actually a pretty cheap deck. Currently, I've got it priced at $130.
Not bad.
It's not bad at all. Some of the more expensive cards in here.
If you cut out, what is it, Inventor's Fair, you save 11.
Yeah, surprisingly. Wow, I didn't realize that was so expensive.
Yeah.
I've got so many copies. I opened so much Kaladesh.
Really?
Yeah, that's an expensive one. Cigar does $7. You might consider that. We've got what other?
I think just most of the
stuff?
Cards are like $5 or $6.
Yeah,
Hammer of
Balon.
Nazan is $12.
Yeah, Balon's $9.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a couple of $5 ones here and there. You can pull out the 3 visits and just put in a Wild Growth.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, it's a pretty cheap deck, all things considered. We basically kept it to what, $1.30 a card.
Yep.
I feel like that's pretty good. So, anyways, that's the deck for today, folks, and I really hope you like it. If you build it, I hope you have a lot of fun. My test runs of it were pretty promising. It has the potential to do some pretty crazy stuff once you start equipping your boys up with hammers. But anyways, this has been your boys, Tyler and Dakota.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are the people who say it at the end, not at the beginning, because we're not cringe.
Yes. And also because we're not trying to make money at this. But this has been Based EDH. We hope you guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time with a deck that probably is still going to be just as jank and ridiculous.
Pray for your sins to be forgiven.
Yes, every day. Goodbye.